Hi, welcome to valuationpodcast.com, a podcast and video series about all things related to business and valuation. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I'm a valuation expert witness in St. Louis, Missouri. I have the pleasure of discussing pink collar crime, fraud, and embezzlement with Kelly Paxton, who is a private investigator and certified fraud examiner in Portland, Oregon, or I just learned, Bend, Oregon. I think that in this space, people think that it's so glamorous, right? They think that you're an fraud investigator and you're a private investigator and this is like forensics and, but like if we step back a little bit, what is fraud in your words, in your terms? Like when you picture it, what does it mean?
I consider fraud taking something that doesn't belong to you, but you've been entrusted with. So I primarily do embezzlement cases. Like I have done financial statement fraud, I have done corruption cases, but me as a solopreneur, I do primarily embezzlement cases on Main Street. Now, fun fraud fact here. I'm all about fun fraud facts. 3 out of 5 dentists get embezzled. So the next time you go to your dentist, after they've stuck their hand in your mouth and you got the Novocaine, ask them, so I've heard this crazy statistic that 3 out of 5 dentists get embezzled. And if they're quiet, they're one. And, so more than 1 out of 2, my own dentist has been embezzled. So I consider fraud, you've been put in a position of trust and you take that trust and you steal. So garden variety embezzlement, you take something that isn't yours and it's cash or, we don't relate to Bernie Madoff. So if you see the term white collar crime, people think of Bernie Madoff. And you know what? Unfortunately, people don't really feel badly for Bernie Madoff's victims. They think they're just a bunch of millionaires who got, ripped off. Well, that's not true. That is true, but there's also a lot of people who were devastated financially by it. But we don't relate to Bernie because he didn't live by us. He lived on the Upper West Side or the Upper East Side of New York. He traveled by private plane. He had a home in the Hamptons. We didn't see him. But embezzlement is committed by people that live amongst us. Like Kevin Bacon's 6 degrees of separation with embezzlement, it's 1 or 2 at most. I can go to a party and I can start talking to people, and I'm going to tell you, everyone has a 1 or 2 degree relationship to someone or some organization that has been embezzled.
Well, and so that's interesting because if we're talking about fraud and we're talking about fraud and embezzlement, are they the same thing? Like, what is embezzlement then to you in some capacity?
So embezzlement is just taking, I'm going to say, smaller amounts of cash. Whereas like when you consider the whole term of fraud, you're thinking like Enron, you're thinking Bernie Madoff, you're thinking huge things that people, again, really don't relate to. But embezzlement is stealing, it can happen at a Fortune 50. I mean, I worked at a Fortune 100 company and embezzlement happened there. But embezzlement is also what I call the relatable crime because it's the crime that happens where we live. And we don't pay attention to Enron, or we say it's not going to happen to us. And truth be told, white collar crime, which pink collar is kind of a subset of, it happens to you more often than a street crime. So just in the last 2 years, I have been a victim of pink collar crime twice. My water district was ripped off to the tune of $202,000 by that trusted office manager. She actually ended up committing suicide, so it became a red collar crime. But then I just found out that my private investigator license, I have to have insurance for. And it turns out for 3 years, I bought an insurance policy through a company. And I just saw in the news like a week ago that the owner of the insurance agency was taking in premiums and not doing the policy. She stole, allegedly, she has not been convicted yet, $750,000. And it wasn't during the time frame I had a policy there, but so that insurance company was also ripped off by, a trusted employee. Well, she was the owner of the company. Apparently she had a gambling habit, which we can talk all day long about gamblers who embezzle.